Here are your 5 tips for better essays. So after reading all of your summary response essays, I came up with 5 different tips that can benefit everyone for when you start writing your next essay. Your next essay is due Wednesday, October 14th, in a few weeks. So read through these tips and you're going to come up with an action plan this week so that you are better prepared and oriented for your next essay. Let's take a look at number 1. Make sure you have a thesis. What is a thesis? A thesis is the reason you're writing the paper. It is an idea that you want to prove and support through your body paragraphs. Many of you just repeated the author's thesis or didn't have a thesis at all. If you don't have something to prove, then what's the point of the essay? So let me give you an example of a thesis that needed some work. Here. I agree, hard work makes kids smarter. Why does this need work? First of all, it's the same exact idea that Kathy Seal posited. And then many people went on to use the same exact examples from the articles. While you want to use examples in your essay from the articles, you want these examples to prove your point, and your point should be different than the author's point. Remember, we want to try to bring something new to the table or something original to the conversation. The way to do that is to agree with a difference or to disagree with reasons. So, here's an example of a thesis that agreed with a difference. I agree that Americans should adopt the get smart belief, but most importantly, they need good teachers to encourage this mindset. So this was one of your theses, and this was really good because she agrees with the Asian belief in getting smart, but she's going to be at a different idea by saying, well, it's really good teachers that need to encourage this mindset. Therefore, the rest of the essay will talk about how teachers need to work hard to instill this mindset in their students. Or your thesis could also disagree with reasons. So, this thesis here says, I disagree, Americans should adopt the Asian belief in hard work because it creates health problems and it stifles creativity in children. So this thesis here disagrees with Kathy Seal's main idea, and it's giving reasons because it causes health problems and stifles creativity. Therefore, the rest of the essay is going to talk about how the mindset creates health problems, how it stifles creativity. Everything in your body paragraphs will then work to support these different theses. Okay? Let's move on to point number 2. Give illustrative support for your thesis in the body paragraphs. So, this is a common thing that many English teachers will tell you. Show, not tell in your writing. It's much stronger and more powerful if you use specific examples, personal experiences, quotes, facts, and statistics to show your points. Many of you just used general and vague ideas to support your thesis. Let me give you an example of telling versus showing. So somebody wrote, many students do not take risks in the United States. They are afraid, so they fail. Okay, right. Maybe this is true, but you need to show how students are afraid to take risks. So here's an example of a student who showed that students were afraid to take risks. This is what she said. Because we were all so worried about disappointing our teacher by getting the wrong answer, we would not raise our hand in class. Also, we did not want to appear stupid to our classmates because of the extreme competition between students. As a result, we did not take these kinds of risks in class. Do you see how this is more specific? It's actually showing how students were afraid to take risks. They would not raise their hand. They didn't want to seem stupid. That's a reason. There is extreme competition, so they were afraid to take risks. This is really showing this point rather than just telling it. It proves the point so much better if you can use illustrative support to prove your points. Let's move on to number 3. Number 3, refer to specific ideas from the reading in your body paragraphs. It was great that you used ideas from Ripley's and Seal's articles to support your thesis. This showed that you really understood the article and you could use its information to validate your points. But a lot of those times, the ideas were just dumped into the essay without any explanation or context. So you can't really assume that the person reading your essay has read the article or the same articles as you. You need to really explain in specific detail what those ideas are, what they mean, and how they relate to your own ideas. Okay, so let me give you a bad example of using an idea without really explaining it. Here we go. American students don't work hard, as Seal mentioned about the unsolved math test where the American kids gave up easily. That unsolved math test or math problem, it was a problem, not really a test. It was an experiment, but it was a problem. I don't know what math test, what math problem you're talking about. Who cares? What? I'm confused. I don't get this. So let me give you a better example. This was a pretty extensive idea. This can't just be explained in 1 or 2 sentences. So let's look at this example. Seal proves her born smart theory by referring to an experiment done on Japanese and American students. When the researchers gave the Japanese and American students an unsolvable math problem, the Japanese students worked tirelessly on it while the Americans gave up almost immediately. However, how does this really prove that the Asian method was actually better? Weren't the Americans smarter to give up on the problem when they recognized there was no solution? Okay. Now I see what's going on here. So first, by saying Seal proves, you're summarizing something that she said in her article, and then you summarize this whole experiment, right? In a few sentences, you tell what the experiment was and what happened. That's summary. Then you give your own interpretation about it. But my idea is that this does not actually prove that getting smart idea is better than born smart. I mean, actually, the Americans gave up faster because they recognized there was no solution, so maybe they were smarter. So you see, I'm explaining in detail Kathy Seal's idea right here, and then I'm explaining how it relates to my own idea and proves my own thesis. What do you think my thesis is here? Do you think I agree with Seal? I don't. Actually, right here, this shows that I disagree with her thesis, and I'm probably disagreeing with the reasons in my essay. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4. Try to reduce your usage of I language. So in this advanced reading writing class, we are preparing you to write academic essays. While it's important to use some I language, especially when you're talking about your personal experience, and in a response essay, generally it's okay to say I, but in research papers, no. So phrases like I learned, or this made me think about, or I really don't like, I hate, these all sound more spoken and don't belong in an academic essay. Use, in my personal experience, that's okay, but don't use I feel language too much. Well, at all, actually. I already know the ideas in your essay reflect your opinions because you are the one writing the essay. So you don't need to say, I think, I know. I already know this is what you think. Your name is on this essay. I know it's your own ideas. So here's an example. How can we change this I feel language to language that sounds more academic? Example 1. I really hate this kind of education. What's a better way to do that? This education system is detrimental to students. Okay, this is better because it's clear you dislike the system because you use the adjective detrimental, which means not good, horrible, dangerous. You don't have to say I hate because you're using this strong adjective. And this is opinion language, okay? Opinion language without saying I, in my opinion, right? Good. Let's move on to example number 2. I have read a lot of news stories about the results of Asia's education lately. Okay. Let's think of a way to say this without saying I. How about here? There have been many stories in the news about the effect of Asia's study culture on students. For example, Do you see this sounds much better when you say there have been instead of I have read? It sounds more academic when you don't use the I language. Okay? So we'll talk about this more in class, how to change your I feel statements to statements that don't use I but reflect the same idea. And we're finally on to our last tip. Check your grammar and spelling very carefully. So proofread. At this level, you are expected to have very few grammar errors and spelling mistakes. And a lot of you received lower grades because there were spelling mistakes and there were a lot of grammar mistakes, and it was clear you hadn't really read your paper over again. So please have a classmate read it, have a peer read your paper. You can go to the Writing Center for support. Because this is a reading and writing class, we don't have as much time to focus on grammar. So I want you to find which grammar mistakes you make the most and determine individually and independently what specific grammar you need to work on. We can work, I can give little mini lessons for you guys, especially if there's an issue that's going on in everyone's papers, but you can also find exercises online to help you improve your grammar. And you can see me in my office if you want to talk to me about how to improve in this area. All right, good work on your essays, everyone, and I'm sure that your next essay will be even better.